Hello all, welcome back to Anitronics. In this video, let us go through some of the optimization algorithms. One is gradient descent algorithm and the other is Adams optimization algorithm. In the previous video, we understood what is backpropagation. So, backpropagation is usually used to optimize our neural network and there are many such algorithms available. So, for all of our examples, what we have seen up to now, what we used is gradient descent algorithm. So, now let us understand this gradient descent algorithm in a better way. So, do subscribe and hit the bell icon to be updated with my new videos. Now, let's get into the video.
Algorithms. So let us first understand this gradient descent algorithm. So the gradient descent algorithms basically measures how much the output of a function changes if you change the input a little bit. So for all of the examples which we solved, we can consider the weight to be input and error to be the output. From this, we will know how much the error, that is the output, changes with a small change in input, nothing but the weights. So we can say the higher the gradient, the steeper the slope and faster the mode learns. Or else I can say if the change in error is very high with a small change in weight, then we can say that the model is learning very quickly. So this is the basic concept behind the gradient descent. Now let's see how does it work. So here is the formula for the gradient descent method, where B is the next value, A is the current value, gamma is the learning rate and this is the gradient. So new weight or the next value is equals to old weight minus learning rate multiplied by the gradient. So now let us consider this graph and these are the initial values of weights and bias. The basic task of this gradient descent is to find the optimal set of weights and bias to minimize the error. So in this, let's say we start from somewhere over here with random values of W and B, and let's say that's a ball and keeps on rolling to the bottom of the curve. So the gradient descent algorithm should make sure that it reaches to the bottom of the curve in the fastest manner and in the right direction possible. So let me repeat it again. We have random values of weights and bias, and the task of the gradient descent would be to find out the optimum values of weights and bias by reducing the error. The reduction of error is possible by going in the right direction of the slope. So let's say that it's a ball and that starts from here and it keep on rolling towards the bottom of the slope, which is nothing but the global loss minimum. So when it reaches the global loss minimum, which means the lowest value, and this is the lowest error, where we find the optimal set of weights and bias. Now let's understand the importance of learning rate. So when the ball is running down the hill, the speed of the ball is determined by the learning rate. So let's say if the learning rate is very high or very large, then what happens is it might overshoot the global minimum. So let's take this as example. So let's say if it starts over here, it will not come down but it overshoots over here. So from here it reaches to the left side and from here it again comes here. So what's exactly happening is, since the learning rate is very high, it will never reach this global loss minimum. Instead, it keeps on oscillating between these two walls of the curve. So this is what happens when the learning rate is very high. Now, when comes over here, where the learning rate is small, let's say that the ball starts here, then the speed of the ball to come from here to the bottom of the hill will be very, very slow. So if it is here, then it comes here and here. So it consumes a lot of time to reach the bottom of the hill, that is to find the optimal set of weights and bias. Hence, we need to make sure that the learning rate is neither too large nor too small. So it is very important to choose the optimal learning rate to get the optimal set of weights and bias. So there is another interesting item in gradient descent, which is something known as epoch. So one epoch is basically when we pass the entire data set forward and backward through the neural network once. So I repeat it again. When we pass the entire data set forward and backward through the neural network once, it is considered as an epoch. Now, when it comes to the neural network, it is very important that the data set has passed more than one epoch. Because when we pass the data through the neural network only once, then it leads to underfitting, or I can say it fails to learn all the features associated with that area. So if we keep on feeding the data to the model, then there comes a stage where the curve would be optimum for the data provided. But if you keep on increasing the number of epochs after that, it leads to overfitting. When it leads to overfitting, it will be good enough for that particular model but very bad in general problems. So this is why epoch is also very important. So now we need to find the right number of epochs for our model to be accurate. Then we also need to know about something known as batch size and iterations. Batch size is basically the number of training examples present in a single batch. When it comes to the iterations is the number of batches required to complete one epoch. So now let us understand these three terms with an example. Let's say there are 3000 examples in the data, and if we divide these 3000 samples into batches of 500, we totally have 6 batches, and it takes 6 iterations to complete one epoch. So let me repeat it again. Let's say there are 3000 samples or entries or records in a data set, and if we divide these 3000 samples in a data set into batches of 500, we totally have 6 batches, and we have to iterate these 6 batches to complete one epoch. So this gradient descent comes in lots of variants. So one variant is the batch gradient descent, and the other one is stochastic gradient descent, and last variant is the mini batch gradient descent. Now let's start with the batch gradient descent, and let's understand this with the help of this example. So our dataset consists of these 6 images of different colored leaves. So in batch gradient descent algorithm, it takes all the images of the dataset at one go and then calculates the loss for all these 6 images at a single time. So it takes all of the 6 images and then it back propagates and calculates the loss or error in prediction. So once it calculates the loss for each of these 6 images, then it goes and updates the gradient descent. So it will actually calculate the average gradient descent with respect to loss of all these 6 leaves. So when it comes to the advantages of batch gradient descent, it is computationally efficient as all computer resources are not being used to process a single sample, rather are being used for all training samples. Now, keeping this in mind, we'll go ahead on the next variant, which is stochastic gradient descent. In stochastic gradient descent, what happens is it takes one record or one sample at a time. When it comes to this particular example, it takes one image at a time. So the first image is sent to the neural network. It reads that image and back propagates, calculates the error, and after calculating the error, it there itself updates the gradient. Now when it upgrades the gradient, it reads the second image. So after reading the image, it then back propagates, calculates the error with the updated gradient, and again will update the gradient for this particular record and go ahead onto the next sample. Similarly, it will perform for all of the individual samples. This is what that is done in stochastic gradient descent. When it comes to the advantages of the stochastic gradient descent, it is easier to fit into memory due to a single training sample being processed by the network. It is also computationally fast as only one sample is processed at a time. And for larger data sets, it can converge faster as it causes updates to the parameters more frequently. Due to the frequent updates, the steps taken towards a minimum of the loss function have oscillations which can help getting out of local minimums of the loss function. And then we have the mini batch gradient descent. Here, the whole data will be divided into batches or mini batches. When it comes to this particular example, the mini batch size is 2. So in the first mini batch, 2 images are sent into the neural network over here. So it back propagates, calculates the loss, and calculates the average gradient for these two records. With the previously found gradient descent, it then back propagates and find the updated gradient descent for this, and then it head on to the third mini batch and updates the gradient descent. So this is what happens in the batch gradient descent, stochastic gradient descent, and mini batch gradient descent. When comes to the advantages of this mini batch gradient descent, it can easily fits into the memory and it is also computationally efficient. So when comes to the Adam optimization algorithm, it is something which is different from the gradient descent optimization algorithm. This Adam optimization algorithm basically stands for adaptive moment estimation, and it is a combination of gradient descent and RMS probe algorithms. So now the problem with this gradient descent algorithm is, if you take this curve as example, and if we roll a ball down through the hill, now what happens is, if there are lots of crests and troughs along the hill, then there will be oscillations along the vertical axis as well as the horizontal axis. So when there is oscillations along the vertical axis, this will reduce the speed of the ball and increase the time to reach the global loss minimum. That is why when we add momentum along with the gradient descent algorithm, the speed of reaching the global minimum would be faster. And also another change in Adam optimization is that learning rate is variable. It is not constant. As soon as the momentum changes, the learning rate also changes to adapt with that momentum. So this is all about Adam optimization algorithm.
So I hope you all understood what are these optimization algorithms. So if you have any doubts regarding this topic, please let me know through the comment section or mail me at anitronics.info@gmail.com. Thank you for watching this video.